Hello, everyone. Happy Thursday to whoever you are. I am in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, and the temperature is 74 degrees, which is nice because it's been super, super hot here, and we have not been having a fun time with heat wave. Glad it's gone. It's been cloudy. Hopefully, we'll get some more rain. At least that's what I'm hoping for. I know a lot of you have been having terrible storms. I've heard some pretty bad stories from some of you. I wish you are all safe and have power and cars that are working and houses that still have roofs on them. That's my wish for you. And now to get into what I was talking about on the last Butchered Writers. The Butchered Writers is a collective group of writers. We're horror writers. We got together for fun, just started a group. We write supernatural, folklore, paranormal, splatterpunk, literary, just about anything that you can think of, we write it. We have all these different anthologies. Our anthologies are based on themes. Sometimes they're urban legends. Sometimes they're abandoned hotels. Sometimes it might be an 80s death mixtape. It might be the dark web. It could be a number of different things. The next project that we have that is going to be coming out is about tarot cards. Each person had to take a tarot card and they had to write a story based on that. So we are working on that. But exciting news that we have right now is that you can go to the Butchered Writers Patreon. We have 2 active stories. By active, I mean you, the audience member, gets to pick what happens. So this is what goes on. We have a cosmic story and we have a folklore story. There are 3 authors on each of the teams. We get a short period of time and have to get our stories in by Friday. Then by Saturday at 2:00, the stories drop. The audience, which is you, gets to vote after reading what they would like to happen. We have no say in the matter. You vote what the next step in the plot is. Then the next author whose turn to write, they have to write what you voted for and figure out how to fit it into the plot. And then they get put into the pool. And it comes their turn Saturday for you to decide what they're going to do. So it's our neat little interactive storytelling, unique writing thing where we call it read, react, vote is what we say. It's all about you, how the story goes, and when it ends. We have no idea. We're at your mercy. We're your puppets. I am writing for the folklore chapters. The folklore book is on its 5th chapter, so is the cosmic horror. We are absolutely loving writing for you guys and entertaining each other. You are giving us challenges. This week I was challenged. I didn't know what to do. I went all the way back to the Civil War and all the gruesome and ugly things that happened to women and to Christians and the church at that time. And I had a lot of fun with it. And it was a very dark, dark piece. So if you want to go over and you would like to read about it, you can go over to the Butchered Patreons and click on the folklore story, Unforgiven Creek, and you can catch up because we have all of our links there from the time that we started on volume 1 all the way to chapter 5. And it's the same with the cosmic story too. So you don't need to worry about missing anything. You can read all of them and then you'll be all set on Saturday to read chapter 5 and vote. We'd love to have you. It's a great experience. If you enjoyed Choose Your Own Adventures when you were a kid, you might actually enjoy this. The other thing that we have going on is an October surprise for you. We can't exactly tell you what it is, but it's going to be big and it's going to be different than any of the horror writing community is doing. Something unique that you're not going to want to miss because it's going to rock the horror community like they haven't seen before. And you are going to be part of the interactive storytelling there too, because you are going to get to make decisions about what happens and who you think does what, where, with whom. And that's all I'm going to say, but it's in the planning works for now, since we have a lot of moving parts and it's a puzzle, and we're going to have to make sure that you can actually follow along with us, and we have to post a lot of information. And all of us butcher writers are excited because we get to play eccentric characters that are normally outside of our everyday life. Well, some of us maybe not. Today I'm not wearing my cat ears because I wasn't feeling it, but I am wearing my dad's old bowling shirt, which is kind of eccentric. It's got his nickname, Dick. And on the back it says Miscellaneous 5, which was his group. So I guess that's maybe a little bit eccentric. It's retro. My dad passed in, I think, 2010, 2013. He was 82 years old, so definitely a retro bowling shirt. Maybe it'll appear in one of my short stories. Who knows? I'm not really sure. If you'd like to ask me any questions or have any comments, there is the live chat box that appears on the right side of my screen so I can interact with you. We have 20 volumes for sale. That's how much writing the Butchered Writers have done. Some of them are holiday related. We are going to be releasing for the holidays our 12 Days of Christmas that we did last year. Not sure what we're doing for Christmas yet this year, but we do want to do some sort of special. The October surprise we're doing for our Halloween one, but we had 31 days of Halloween stories last year, which we are going to be re-releasing in a hardcover. Right now, you could only read them online, so you'll be able to pick that up. And if you go to our website, butcheredwriters.com, you can find all of our work in the store. Plus, you can find a curated gift list for yourself if you just want pick me up or something fun, or if you're a bad shopper and you have a horror person in your life. I have spent hours scouring the internet for you to find some very interesting things for the horror lover in your life. So that will be helpful. The holidays seem like they are not that far off, but this year has been creeping by. Not at all. It's just gone by. Zooming. I can't believe it's going to be August soon. That's crazy. Another project that we are working on is called the duos, and that's where two of us are teaming up and we are writing a novel or a novella, and we're going to have all those out and published. So that will be very different, that you will have a lot of novels and novellas soon to choose from, but we're still going to be putting out our regular anthologies as well. After our tarot comes steampunk, which will be interesting. And then our next anthology is mythology. And then after that, we have October Surprise. And after that, we have Killer Junk Food. And then we're going to have something to do with the holidays. I thought I would mix it up a little bit. Our current ones that are the latest two, Prime Cuts came out, which is about cannibalism. Nom, 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 as we say. It came out after Caught in the Web, which is our second oldest one. Caught in the Web is about the dark web and the sea underside of the internet. And It's kind of hard to read because there's a lot of censoring that we had going on TikTok, so that was kind of bad, which is why I've moved over here to streaming on my own account. Here, hopefully, we don't get picked up for being censored on Substack. I don't know. We'll see. They're trying to sell our own books on Amazon.com, on TerraMonthly.com, and on the ButcheredWriters.com. They censored us for trying to drive traffic away, and also for some of the topics, even though we used things, words that were appropriate, like red icky stuff and unalived. They did not like that. They still censored us anyways. So I came here hopefully because I host every other Saturday night a fun and interactive time for people who are authors or not authors. 7 Central Standard. You can come hang out with the Butchered Writers. You can ask us about any of our anthologies. You can ask us about writing techniques, anything you want about our lives. DL Garvin writes is there, and he has his own Friday night reads. So you can talk to him about having one of your own stories read on his channel on Friday nights. You don't have to be a member of the Butchered Writers. We are welcoming everyone in. Our goal is to be able to help everybody. We want everyone to have some sort of safe landing, because a lot of us did that when we first were getting started with our own writing careers. We want to be able to mentor new writers and bring new people into the fold and make them feel comfortable. You can ask us anything about our anthologies as well, or our everyday lives. We're open books. We don't mind sharing. We usually have a story reading on Saturday nights. I also do tarot readings, so I give away free tarot readings to anyone that is interested. And that's usually a lot of fun because the Butchered Writers also do them. If we have a chance, we play this game called the Worst Case Scenario, which is really funny. The Butchered Writers get themselves into some really bad situations, like being sunk in the middle of the ocean with no life raft, being caught underground in the subway with no lights and no food or water, having to live without your cell phone for a day, which doesn't seem that bad, but some people think it is. Getting stung by a nest of hornets. There are all different things that could happen to you. You could fall off a bridge in your car and land in water. It's a great game. It's called the Worst Case Scenario, and it's just a little icebreaker. It's kind of fun to do. There is no audience participation in that one, unfortunately. I'd like to find a game where we could have audience participation, but it's kind of hard to find a card game where you can do that with. So, but you guys do get to watch that, and it is kind of a lot of fun. There are 5 of us that run the Butchered Writers. There's myself, John Russell, Melinda Pouncey, Winona Morris, and Raven Tomes, and Sarah Bauer were the people that put together all of the books we enjoy so much. And we do all of the live things that we do and all of the specials, and we answer all the questions. If you have any questions about the Butchered Writers, you can DM me afterwards. That would be fine. Or you can find me on TikTok at Nora B Peevy 1976. Drop me a line there. If you are interested in having one of your stories read, you can drop Danny a line at DL Garvin Writes on TikTok, or you can also drop me a line at Nora B Peevy 1976 on TikTok, and I will make sure that he gets it. I will stress that these stories have to be appropriate for us to read online. We've gotten some very graphic and very bloody stories that we have not been able to read online because there's no way any censor would take them. I would love to read them because they're good splatterpunk, but they are just too extreme. So now I'm going to open up the floor and see if there is anybody that wants to ask any questions. Now's your time. And then after that, I'm going to read a story for you from one of our books. Is there anybody that has any questions that's watching? I appreciate it for everybody who is watching or who's popping back in. This is a new thing. I'm not sure how many times I'm going to be doing it per week, but I'm trying to make it a regular thing that I do at least 2 or 3 times a week to just interact with the Substack community and with all of our followers to give back to you something else besides the author interviews and besides the articles that we have on our website. Ugh, I have my own hair in my mouth. That sucks. Okay, well, it looks like we do not have anybody who is interested in any type of questions. So I'm going to read a story from the Butchered Writers' 80s Death Mixtape, a horror anthology. Look at that pretty colored cover. It definitely screams 80s. Let's see, what do I remember about the 80s? Roller rinks, swatches, big hair, neon colored socks that used to mix match. So you had them doubled up if it was one color mixed with the other. We used to, let's see, safety pin the bottom of our jeans so that they would be super, super tight. Garfield lunchboxes were big back then. Garfield erasers were big back then. We had trapper keepers. For those who don't know what those were, they made a huge Velcro sound. You had all your folders with loose leaf papers organized for all of your classes. Dodgeball was still allowed in gym because it wasn't considered to be a game that you would injure yourself in. But nowadays you don't have dodgeball, and I feel sorry for kids who miss it because it was so much fun. We had gigantic hoop earrings that were really big, like probably longer than the earrings that I'm wearing today, like down to here. Janet Jackson and Michael Jackson were big. Cyndi Lauper was big. Tiffany was big. Whitney Houston was big. There was a perfume that was called Electric that was out. That was really big. It came in this bottle that had a neon spiral that was pink. Windbreakers were big. Weird Al Yankovic was huge. Jump roping for heart was a really big fundraiser in gym class. That was really huge. Those are the things that I remember. Now I'm going to find you my story that I wanted to read you. And take my glasses off because I've gotten to that age where I can't wear my glasses and read at the same time. This is called Every Breath You Take by Jerry Blaze. I first saw Trinity when she walked into the store. She was the most beautiful woman I'd ever seen come through the doors. She was around 5'4", thin and smoking hot. Her hair was done in a long ponytail. Her long, dark legs showed enticingly through the deep pink skirt she wore with a yellow sleeveless blouse. Yep, that sounds about right. Those sound like the colors that we would have worn. When we made eye contact, I felt my heart rush through my chest as though I just finished running a marathon. Sorry, guys, my throat's a little sore today. Sweat drowned from my pores in an instant. I swallowed when she walked past me towards the counter. She asked my coworker for a cup of our famous yogurt. Her voice was soft and flowed through the air like a carefree bird of paradise, creating a soft glow around her presence. My coworker rang her up and set to work getting the order ready. Meanwhile, she stood there looking around. I got a glimpse of her purse, a special white leather bag with a strap that hung from her shoulder. Her long fingers tapped on the side of it while she waited for the order. I couldn't help but swallow as I felt my throat go dry. She looked up to see me staring at her. I quickly focused on doing my own thing, trying to deflect any potential creep factor she might have assumed from my irresponsible stares. However, soon I heard her voice directly towards me in the form of an inquiry. "Working hard?" Hardly working," I quipped, shooting a bashful smile towards her. She smiled, giving a casual nod, and went back to waiting for a cup of yogurt. My brain was pushing me. It felt going. It kept going. It kept hitting me with the urge to ask for her name, ask her out, ask her for something. "Damn it, you fool, just ask her." I looked over at her. "I'm Danny." She nodded. "I'm Trinity. Nice to meet you." Good, I had her name. Trinity, the three. The Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. I wasn't religious, but I knew it from television or somewhere. I smiled again. "You like yogurt?" "Obviously," she smirked, nodding again. I could tell that my inane questions were obviously not interesting, even though I was highly interested. All too soon, my coworker brought her cup of yogurt. She took it and then turned to me. "Well, have a good day, Danny." "You too, Trinity," I replied. I watched her turn and walk out, her ass swaying side to side as she exited the shop. My coworker looked over at me and grinned. "Like you had a chance." I grinned. I ignored him. Fuck him. He doesn't even know more than anyone else. I felt the connection. Nobody can say there wasn't one. There was. I was connected to her on a whole new level. Shaking my head, I focused on preparing the cups for future orders and cleaning up the work area. The next few customers weren't worth a damn to remember. When the time came for my shift to end, I clocked out and left the shop. I walked over to my car in the lot next to the building, opened the back door, pushed my stupid shop hat in the back, and then slammed the door. After getting into the driver's seat, I turned the key in the ignition, starting the car up for the drive home. The whole time my thoughts were on Trinity, her beauty, her body, her voice. I was in love. It was love at first sight. I knew what I knew, and I was in love with that beautiful lady. She was perfect in every way I can imagine. All I ever saw in the shop were fat people, ugly people, and people who weren't worth a word from my lips. She was different. She was something I'd only dreamt of seeing before, a true woman. Only now I might never see her again. I should have asked for her number. I should have asked for her last name. I should have done something. I should have done more than I did. I was paying the price for it. Driving onto the road, I noticed it was starting to get dark. As usual, I'd be home just a bit after the sun went down. The town wasn't huge, but it was good sized, and I lived 10 minutes from work. I drove along with my hand on the wheel and the other on the console. My eyes focused on the road. Only my mind was seeing something else. I was seeing her, Trinity, the woman of my future, the woman I would sweep off her feet and carry away. Only the two of us. Not a single motherfucker could separate us. My mother always said I got obsessive too quickly, but this time around I was obsessive for the right reason. I was in love. My mother deserved grandchildren, and I was going to ensure she got them. I just had to get Trinity to love me the way I loved. It would happen. I was good about that kind of thing, having more than a bit of success with the ladies when I went after one. Suddenly, I saw something that made my heart flutter and my stomach tie into a myriad of knots. There she was. She was walking towards the apartment complex across the street from my own. I couldn't help but draw my fingers up and down on the steering wheel in a celebration of my successful discovery. I pulled into the parking lot of my complex, turned off the engine, and watched with bated breath as she stood outside the entrance to her building. She was smoking a cigarette through her fingers near her luscious lips. She was beautiful, a fucking African-American Aphrodite. Reaching down, I unzipped my pants and slid my fingers into my netherwear, taking myself in my hand. I focused on her, my goddess, giving myself an ample little exercise as I watched her smoke her cigarette. The way she sucked the butt of it triggered me to moan under my breath. It was delicious. I wondered if she would be the same to me. I'd start smoking tomorrow just to see if I could share a smoke with her. I wanted to have as much in common with her as I could, but needed to find out more about her. I was getting harder in my pants, and I fiercely fondled myself. Glaring at Trinity, she casually remained unaware that she was being used as a masturbatory aid. I wasn't in the wrong, though. I could see her staring. She could see me if she tried hard enough. She wasn't freaking out or anything. She was simply watching me, almost goading me on. She wanted me to make a mess of my underwear. She was going to get her wish. I finished, startling myself with an unmerciful batch of release that coated my underwear. Breathing hard, I sat back, taking my hand from my pants and watching her finish her cig. She walked into the building and I smiled. Yeah, there goes my girl. Later that night, I lay in bed looking up at the ceiling. I couldn't get her off my mind. Trinity. She was beautiful. God damn, she was beyond beautiful. Words wouldn't describe how incredibly perfect I found her to be. I wanted her with every fiber of my being. I wanted her to want me. I wanted her to give me what she had and everything else. Mostly, I wanted her to be mine. I mean, she was her own woman, but I wanted her to give me her love and attention, the way I would give it to her. I sat up from where I was lying and sighed, scratching my bald head. My hair had been falling out more and more since I hit my 30s. It was bullshit. I wasn't about to buy a wig or a toupee, but I also knew it was keeping me from being as good looking as the other guys out there. I got up and walked into the bathroom, turning on the light to look at myself in the mirror. I wasn't too bad looking. I was a bit overweight and wore glasses. My hair was trimmed short, but balding scalp was still prevalent. Maybe I did need a toupee. It had to be a good one, though. After walking to the toilet, I pulled myself out and started pushing down, releasing my urine into the brown water. I really needed to clean up in this bitch. It was showing the sad reality of the bachelor pad. It needed a woman's touch, or at the least a very self-conscious man's touch. I wasn't very much of one. Flushing the toilet, I walked out of the bathroom into my living room to sit on the couch and look out the window. I could see the building across the street. She was in that building. She was living her life without me in that fucking building. I sighed, sitting back, and thought to myself, I needed to see her. I wanted to see her. Girls like attention, and naturally guys like me are totally attentive. At least I was and could be to her. Getting up with little trouble, I walked back to my bedroom and slid my legs into my pants, zipping up as I slid on my shoes. Grabbing my coat, I headed out of my apartment and into the elevator, hitting the ground floor. I waited patiently, the elevator moving slowly and steadily. My heart beat quicker with every ding it made until it reached the lobby. I walked past the security guard, who was busy playing on her phone, and headed out the door, zipping up my coat when I felt the cold air in the summer night's breeze. On to Trinity. Watch across the empty street towards the complex and up to the door, noticing the intercom plate for the residents. I used my finger to slowly read down the list until I saw it. 3rd level, Trinity McDaniel. Stepping away, I moved around the side of the building and saw the fire escape was attached to the back side of the complex. I looked around until I noticed an old desk next to a dumpster. I grabbed the side of the desk, dragging it until I had it under the ladder of the fire escape. After getting up onto the desk, I got to my feet, standing mere inches from the ladder above. I jumped and grabbed it. The cold metal on my bare fingers was like chipped steel, but I ignored the pain. I pulled myself up until I was clinging to the ladder for dear life. It was a long fall that I did not want to consider the outcome of. I climbed until I reached the first floor. Sitting on the landing carefully, I took in a heavy breath. Damn, I was out of shape. Cigarettes my ass. I needed oxygen already. After getting my wing back, I climbed to the next floor, and then next, until I made it to the third floor. It was then I stopped in my tracks. The escape was right by her window. Holy shit. Of all the luck, this had to be a sign from God himself. I was right outside the window of my bride-to-be, and I was lying on her bed peacefully, snoozing. And she was lying on her bed peacefully snoozing. I slowly moved towards the window and leaned back, placing my fingertips on the glass. My eyes focused intently. She was naked under the blanket, her chest moving up and down with every little breath she took. Her eyelids closed tightly. I watched my goddess sleeping peacefully, and in that instant, I felt closer to her than early in the store when she was mere feet away from me. My heart raced as I dragged my fingertips from down the glass and watched her breast slide out from under the blanket. Her body cooled from the overbearing warmth. Her nipples were dark, her breasts firm, and her neck bare. No jewelry, such a classy girl. My classy goddess. I watched her nipples move with her breasts, her breathing slowly moving them up and down. My lips quivered from the thought of taking them in my mouth. I could almost taste them. I wanted to. I wanted to taste her. I wanted to suck her nipples like a baby and let her nurture me. I'd pay her back. I'd eat between her legs while her thighs squeezed my head tightly. I wanted her body and her soul, her love and spirit, her everything and her nothing. I felt myself growing hard again in my pants as I watched her bare breasts move with her breath. Her eyelids flickered as her dreams continued in a peaceful state. She slept so well. How could she sleep so well when I was lying awake thinking of her? How could she not think of me when I only thought of her? I unzipped myself and took it out, watching her move around slightly on her side. Her breasts atop each other as she lay still in the bed. I took it in, moving myself up and down, jerking like I had never touched myself the millions of times I had. I had to leave a gift for her. On the fire escape right here and now, show her my appreciation. It was nothing compared to the mess I would leave on her breast, but until then it would do. I continued quickly and held my breath, pushing my pleasure along my brain, which was bursting from the lack of oxygen. I released my breath, my climax hitting, and I split myself all over the base of the window as it ran down the brick wall. I leaned in and huffed my hot breath against the window, using my fingertip to sketch a small heart on it with my initials as best I could make them. Zipping myself up, I took another look, admiring her beautiful body before I started my descent from the top of the fire escape. This had been a success. Tomorrow night I would return and watch her again, enjoying every moment of her in slumber. It was something more than I could ever explain. She belonged to me. I wanted to watch what she did with herself, especially if Trinity was as heavily into her pussy as I was into my cock. It was something to consider, I thought to myself as I leaned down and made my way back to the loneliness of my own apartments. The next few days were nothing to brag about. I went to work, did the yogurt thing, and came home. Not my best days. Nothing could compare to the interview when Trinity came into my life. I was smitten. Every day I see her was nothing more than just another waste of time. I did, however, spend the whole day thinking of what I saw outside her window those next few nights. After watching her breasts, I compared her nipples in my mind with everything I liked. Nothing was a fair comparison because her nipples were perfection, made from flesh, much like her entirety. As I pulled up to the parking lot of my complex, I was shocked to see her exiting her own apartment and heading to her car. I killed the ignition in mine and watched as she walked over to her own vehicle to go somewhere. My eyes studied her outfit. She wore a black sundress that revealed her slender legs, Her breast jutted outwards at the front, and her arms casually swayed as she walked. She even wore a pair of black heels that added an inch or two to her height. I loved it. She looked like she was going to a party, club, or somewhere special in particular. Didn't matter. She'd be home later and I'd have my chance to watch her again. I exited my car, went into my complex, and arrived at my own apartment. I tossed my keys onto the table and sat on my sofa. Thinking to myself, I pictured her in the outfit she had been in. I could almost see her as I looked at my bedroom window, walking out of the black dress and coming towards me. She did. She wanted me. She wanted to be with me. Watched as my image of her slowly faded. The closer she came. Damn, fuck, shit, I muttered in my mind. A way to make sure she didn't escape my mind's eye so clearly. Night came, and I made my way out of my apartment, heading across the street. I scurried up the fire escape to watch her. Her car wasn't in the lot, but she probably parked somewhere else, and I just hadn't noticed. I made my way to her floor and looked through the window. To my surprise, it was empty. She wasn't asleep as she had been the last few nights. I sighed. I had to climb down and wait. I wouldn't be able to watch her breasts or nipples. I wouldn't be able to count every breath she took. I thought I'd have to climb down and wait. A thought crossed my mind, and in my loneliness, I reached her fingertips to the base of the window, inching my fingernails under the pane to lift up. It opened slowly, moving up inch by inch until it was open fully. The warmth of her dark bedroom hit me in the night's air. I overlooked my shoulders before realizing I was alone on the fire escape and slid my leg in through the window, placing my foot on her bed. I moved in closer and fit the rest of my body through it. Shutting the window once, I was fully inside her bedroom. My heart raced, and my blood pressure climbed, but finally I was in the promised land. I was in her most sacred place, and she wasn't home to see me. But she would soon enough. Suddenly, I heard a noise coming outside the apartment door. The knob twisted as her angelic voice grew louder through the door. I froze, looking around for something to do or somewhere to go. I was instantly worried of her response if she found me. Acting fast, I left off the bed and dropped to the carpeted floor, rolling my body under the bed. Her blankets hung low, and I was short enough to ensure no extremities were sticking out. She would never know I was there. I heard her speaking on the phone as she walked into the apartment and closed the door. She spoke clearly. I'm sorry I had to leave the party early. I know I promised you a date, but I got sick. I'm at the hospital now waiting to get checked. Come on, Dante. Don't worry about me. Yes, I promise you that I'll be back. You'll see me again, no question. I gotta go. Bye. She was lying. She wasn't at the hospital. She was at her home, and obviously she'd broken a promise to some poor guy trying to get her attention. I felt weird in that moment, like my image of her had changed. The angelic woman in my mind was not someone who would break promises or vows or anything similar. She was the perfect woman, and yet I felt in that moment that she was something else entirely. I held my breath as she walked into the bedroom. Peeking out from the narrow view under the blanket, I saw her ankles. The dress came off down to her feet, and she kicked off her heels. She was moving towards the bed, and soon I felt her presence from above. She was lying on the bed, nude, relaxing as I heard her yawn in the sweetest little voice. Her weight was light. She made no large indentation on the bed, and soon she was out. Her breathing was natural, soft, and mellow, no humming or snoring or anything uncouth. I raised my touch to touch the mattress atop me, and it was as though I could feel her through it. I smiled. This is far better than watching through the window. This was reality in an act so secret that I felt my heart ready to burst in my chest. Slowly, I inched towards the other side of the bed in any attempt to get out. I had to get up and watch her. I had to see her breath and purse as she slept. I had to experience her firsthand so I could never forget her touch in any way. I moved out from under the bed and got to my hands and knees, looking over the top of the bed to see her lying on her face, her side facing the window. Inching upwards, I stood still in a frozen state and looked down at her. Her supple breasts moved as she breathed in her slumbering state. She was so beautiful. She was perfect. She was mine. I don't know why, and maybe I never will, but I felt in that moment that I had to touch her. I had to feel her naked flesh under my fingertips and place myself in connection with her. I had to make it known, had to find myself the reward of all I had done to keep into her most secret state of being. She could dream of someone touching her, but she would never know it was me. She would never guess. Pulling my shirt and pants off, I took myself in hand through my underwear. I crouched down and held myself against the bed to make sure I didn't fall on her. I reached out with my free hand to caress a bare thigh that was sticking out of the blankets. Soon enough, I had it. I had her flesh in my hand. Her leg was smooth, nothing remotely different about it compared to any other leg I had touched. Yet hers was immaculate because it was part of her. Trinity was perfect. I stroked myself more and more as I caressed her thigh. Her body was tight, fit, toned with care and interest in personal appearance. I could feel myself getting harder. She'd never know. She'd never suspect. I looked over, and that's when I saw her eyes look wide open and mouth agape. Trinity was awake. She'd spotted me. She was frozen in fear at the sight of the short, large man rubbing himself out as he touched her. He whispered, "Don't scream. You're my everything." Instantly, she began to scream and kick at me, attempting to get off the bed, to escape me. Ripping my hand from my underwear, I was on top of her in an instant, and holding her back down on the bed. She pushed against me with her hands and screamed. Even when I forced my lips on hers, she still screamed and called out for help. She didn't listen to me. She wouldn't stop. She wasn't giving me a chance. I panicked in that moment as I felt myself growing more and more aroused against her fighting body. I grabbed the pillow from behind her and covered her face with it, holding it over to muffle the yelling. Pushing my free hand to pull myself out of my underwear, I entered between her legs. Her muffled screaming continued through the pillow, but I held it down, moving my hips against her as I felt her satin insides against my throbbing tool. Her hands kept trying to fight me off, but slowly she was getting into my actions against her. She ceased fighting. Her limbs stopped flailing around. I smiled, forcing myself harder and harder. I knew she loved it. She did in my fantasies. She did the dreams I had of her. I'd seen her sleep and breathe. I watched her for so long. I knew she wanted me, even if she never outright stated it. Finally, I finished inside her and held tight, leaning down to make her nipples in my mouth, as I'd always wanted to. I suckled and I sucked. I nibbled on them. I must have spent several minutes engaging in kissing, licking, nipping at her breasts. I was so erotic, so deliriously beautiful. I was in ecstasy. She was my girl, first and foremost, my everything. I had claimed her in that point for the rest of my life. My cold heart was warmed with her energy. However, I noticed that in all my time of giving her breasts my attention, they weren't moving up and down. I looked up, and that's when I noticed the pillow was still covering her face. "Shit," I cried out, pulling the pillow off her face, and that's when I saw it. Her face was frozen in a twisted look of pure terror and anguish. Tears still held on her face as it was frozen in its final visage. I looked at her in disbelief. Trinity, baby, come on. Come on, baby, don't do this. Not now. Not when we can finally be together." I rolled her off and attempted CPR. I blew into her mouth, pushing on her sternum and blowing again and again. I had to save her. "Come on, baby, don't do this." I couldn't let her get away from me. I had to save my girl. I repeated this for hours, trying to revive her. I repeated what I did over and over again, yet I had no success. I cried. I held her naked body in my arms as I cried. Even when the police busted down the door and dragged me off of her, I cried out in pure anguish. And here I am now, writing out my confession, and I don't think it'll save me. I don't think I'll get anything more than life in prison, but I won't forget those nights of watching my angel sleep, watching her body relax, watching every breath she took before she took another. The end. That story was by Jerry Blaze. If you liked it, you should go out, Google him. He's on Amazon. You can find him there. Buy some of his books. Hope you enjoyed it. And that's all I've got for you today, viewers. Thank you for listening. Thank you for learning some more about the Butcher Writers. Hope to see you around on my next chat. Have a good Thursday. Thank you all. Bye.